So, I just got back from the gym this morning, and on the way back, I needed to stop off for some fuel. And it's the first time I've had to deal with this whole, UK petrol shortage situation. And I needed to find some Shell VPower specifically. I only ever run my car on VPower, because number one, it's high octane, and number two, Shell's one in particular has better additives in it for port-injected engines, which is what my car is. So, I need to get a Shell VPower. So I stop off the one that's near Waitrose in Sheffield, where I normally go, and they don't have any. They've not had any for a week or so now. But the Shell on Ecclesall Road, very close to it, did have some. I'll stop off there. And I go to fill up, and there's a few other car enthusiastic-looking people around, and we're all filling up with V-Power. And then the pump stops, and I'm like, is my filler broken? Is it run out of fuel? And no, it turns out the guy with the Evo next to me said, "Oh, there's a £30 limit." I had no idea about this. So it turns out that a lot of stations around the UK have introduced a £30 fill-up limit in order to, reduce the amount any one person's using, so more people can have access to petrol. Sorry about the ambulance. But there's a few issues with that in regards to people that use V-Power like me. V-Power is more expensive per litre. It's like 20 pence per litre more so than normal petrol. And limiting people based on price rather than volume means that we essentially can only fill up less litres than someone else. And this issue isn't an actual fuel shortage, it's a transportation shortage. So these trucks can only carry so many litres worth of fuel, which is based on volume, not based on price. So because we can only fill up £30 worth, it means that we're getting many, many less litres, combined with the fact that often people that require higher octane fuel are driving tuned, modified, highly powered and not very fuel efficient vehicles. So the guy in the Evo was significantly more annoyed at this than I was. I mean, I don't drive that much, so it's not too much of an issue. But when we get into the station to pay, he was giving the poor woman who was working there a bit of abuse, saying, is this your rule or what? And to be fair, she wasn't actually answering the question. So he was trying to work out whether it's this one station or whether it's a Shell thing or whether it's a national thing. It turns out there's select stations that have, that depends who owns them. I looked it up, it was a bit complicated, but lots of stations around the UK have introduced this £30 limit. I just wish it was based on volume, and they were more clear with what the rules were, because he was trying to work out whether he could leave and come back and get another £30 worth, or whether he has to come back tomorrow or whatever it is. And he goes, "So if I just leave and then come back, can I get more fuel?" And she goes, "Well, you can, but that would be very rude." So the rules don't seem very clear-cut here, and he left in a bit of a huff. Now, one of the reasons I think that petrol stations, fuel stations, can justify having a limit is because they will assume that if you really need it, you will go on your journey wherever you're going and then stop off at different stations on your way, so you're spreading the demand over a greater number of stations, which is probably what the point is. Like, people who need to drive a lot aren't going to use any less fuel, they're just going to have to get it from different places. But when we combine this with the whole high-octane V-Power situation, we just don't have as many stations to pick from. Like, I only take my car to Shell stations that have V-Power, which is not even all of them. So in Sheffield, usually it's just the one behind Waitrose, and it's coincidence that there's another one next to the road close by. In a lot of places around the country, they're nowhere near each other, and they're hard to find. So, for example, if we are going on a long journey, usually we would, fill up at our local station full of V-Power, and then go about our way and do a few hundred miles until we run out. And within that time, the likelihood that we're going to come across another station is great. But if now we can only fill up a third to a half of our tank at once, that severely limits the ability for people that have, more specialist cars to do long journeys. Now, this might seem like a rich person problem, but it isn't. A lot of people, car enthusiasts, don't just have loads of money, and they don't have multiple cars. We don't have something sensible and economical and, with readily available fuel, and then also a stupid fast car. A lot of us have one car, which has specific requirements. In my case, I've only got one car, and as a car enthusiast that also needs some level of practicality, that's sort of my one car that does everything, And a lot of people are in that situation. The guy in the Evo today, the Mitsubishi Evo is like an extremely fast car. His was tuned as well, but it's got 5 seats and 4 doors, and he had a kid in a booster seat and a passenger seat. So that's his family vehicle. He's using that in the same way that someone would be using a Renault Scenic diesel. So this restriction is disproportionately affecting people that have more unusual cars, which is annoying. Obviously, I'm speaking this from my perspective because I'm trying to look for V-Power as well. The great irony of this whole thing being that you end up driving around and using a lot of fuel, in order to look for places where you can get fuel, which is what this guy was doing. I feel sorry for him. He was quite hot-headed, so I don't think the woman that worked there had the same sympathy. Today's rant was brought to you by Delicious Ella chocolate orange almonds, because they're fucking amazing. Oh. Please, Delicious Ella, send me more of them, because I will shill them in every video. Okay, hope you enjoyed watching. Subscribe, and like, and whatever it is people on YouTube say.